welcome to Finally Game Music and the thematic of a summer hike 2021. This is episode 145, and this thematic special theme is called The Second Stop. So, yeah, when it comes to hiking, you're usually going around in different kind of ways. You can travel by feet, you can travel by bike, you can travel by car, or you can travel by train. There's a lot of more ways to travel, of course. I'm just taking more of the major part ones. You can also travel by air and stuff like that. But yeah, I'm going to specify more about the train right now. And yeah, usually there are some people that do like to backpack, for example. That's some type of hiking, I would say. Hiking feels like you're going more out to the wilderness and the nature and live out of that, and just taking a good look at yourself while out there and taking good care of the nature as well, of course. But when you're backpacking, maybe you're more centered around yourself and just going from city to city. But anyway, just traveling by train is one way to get around, and one way to get around in a larger quantity of distance at least. And the reason why I wanted to talk about trains this time is because of the game A Hat in Time. It's a game where you basically travel around different places and meet different kinds of people. So the first stop we're making today is at the conductor's train. The soothing track of the conductor's train from A Hat in Time. And the whole soundtrack here was made by the Swiss Pascal Michael Stiefel. And damn, I really like this song because it's so soothing to some extent. I really do enjoy the simplicity within this track that I find very soothing for this thematic. So when you were looking at the second stop here, I just figured out that, yay, we just visited one of our first stops, and traveling from one place to the other is playing a big part while hiking. And as I said before, depending on what type of place you're going to and how you get there may differ, but going by train is one of them. And in Hat in Time, you're traveling from place to place through your spaceship, basically. It's a little bit like the hub world of Super Mario 64, where you go into Peach's castle and jump into different paintings. But in A Hat in Time, you're basically running through different portals, and you teleport to specific locations, and you travel to that world, and you make a lot of mischief at that point. Well, you're basically doing a couple of missions, so to speak, but you're basically traveling over to the different planets. And some of these are very, very nice. Some of them are giving me full-on Zelda vibes. Also a great place where you can go hiking on Zelda. Just plain straight out throwing it out there for everybody to enjoy. But yeah, when you're done with the traveling, you usually end up at the place you hopefully will go around exploring next. And one of these places that I did enjoy exploring a lot is from the point-and-click adventure The Journey Down. And this is a game that I started playing because I got the code for the first game. I found it a little bit hard, but I did enjoy the game itself. So for the second and the third chapter, I actually did kickstarted it, or well, they did some sort of crowd. I don't remember if it was specifically a Kickstarter. But we're going to listen to the third chapter of the game. So, The Journey Down, chapter 3, and welcome to the Underland. Welcome to the Underland, from the point-and-click adventure game and the third part of it, The Journey Down, Chapter 3. And yeah, we had a little bit more of a dramatic ending here. And first of all, when it comes to the second stop, it's not always what you thought it would be in the first place. Maybe you got recommended by a friend, or maybe you've seen something online and such that, oh, this is an amazing place to go hiking. But sometimes all those things doesn't pan out really, and I kind of wanted to tell that with this song as well. That's why I felt this was kind of fitting. First of all, it's a great game, and going to the Underland, you're going from this like shit place or city where it just feels dirty and full of mafia chasing you and stuff like that. But then in this third chapter, you're going into this tropical wonderland where like everything is just amazing to some extent, and you're kind of following a pirate-ish kind of treasure map-ish. You're trying to solve something that is going on. I don't want to spoil anything, but you're going on an adventure here, trying to find a treasure of some sort. But yeah, so with this tune, I just wanted to get a wider selection of the current stops that we may get. Because not always will you get these, like, pearl places that are adorable and amazing. Sometimes you gotta live through the shitty ones to really enjoy the other ones with their beauty to another extent. And that's what I thought was brought forth with this track. First of all, we had this really nice tropical feeling in the beginning of the song, and then it just turns over and something is happening. It gets more dramatic. Maybe you end up in this perfect place. Maybe there's a place you're hiking every year, and the first day when you finally get there, you're like, oh, finally I'm back to my wonder place. I just love being here. And a freaking storm just showers down. It thunderstorms, heavy rain, and so on. This is not how I want to begin my hiking, you think? And that is kind of maybe what we were getting at with this song for one example, and another example is the first one I said. But it's always interesting on these second stops. Maybe you had a first stop that was just great all at once, and the second stop you're doing is more to visit a friend. And that's what I wanted to show with the next song that I brought to this table. So we're going to listen to a track from Donkey Kong Country 2, and the theme is called Cranky's Conga. Donkey Kong Country 2 and Cranky's Conga. The soundtrack here was made by the British David Wise, Robin Beanland, and Evelyn Novakovic. And yeah, like I said before we started this song, maybe you had a great time, maybe you had a wonderful time, maybe it was just shitty. Doesn't matter. When you're visiting an old friend, maybe that is all that matters for this travel or this hike that you did. The travel part is just a secondary part of just the traveling, just meeting all the people. Maybe you meet them out on the track while you're hiking around, or maybe you're actually passing by your old friend's house or apartment or wherever that person lived. Maybe they do live in a bungalow or something like that, like Cranky do, or a shack. It all depends on which game you're playing. But yeah, the important part here for the second stop is the old friends we're getting at. And there's a lot of things that comes to it. Maybe you haven't met a person in a long time. Maybe you're going on a hike in a different country, so it's most likely a person maybe you haven't met at all, or you haven't met in a long time. well, it's due to COVID times that people are sticking more to themselves, and we're starting to get back a little bit to starting to travel and hopefully meeting people. But we're still taking it a little bit back, hopefully, because we're starting already to see news talking about people going on tourism and stuff like that, and they're already shutting down those countries almost because of the widespread of COVID. So I really hope that we will get back and people will stop being like super weird about everything and start behaving instead. That would be lovely, because then we minimize the time we actually need to sit and isolate ourselves. But yeah, meeting old friends, there's a lot of ways to do that as well, and best in COVID times is just keeping them on a line to some extent. I'm talking about a phone line, for example, or maybe you're talking to them online through Discord or Messenger and stuff like that. Keeping connections is the most important thing here, I'm getting at. But yeah, visiting old friends. But in the end, maybe you're out there for all the nature, all the beauty that Mother Nature can give to us. And that is what we're going to stop at the second stop for the last song. So we have 4 different kind of tracks, all depending where you end up, who we're visiting, or the glory moments that we will enjoy. To accompany this, we will enjoy the Garden of Selene from Wise 8, Lacrimosa of Dana. Wise 8, Lacrimosa of Dana, and this was the track Garden of Selene. And the music and sounds in this game is by the sound team JDK, and that conjures of the Japanese people of Hayato Sonoda, Takahiro Unizuga, Yukihiro Jindo, and Mitsuo Singa. And yeah, this is amazing type of track in my opinion, especially when you try to enjoy the serene sounds of nature put into sounds of music, in my opinion. Because usually when you're heading out in nature, you usually don't want to listen to these kind of things. You don't want to listen to music at all, in my opinion. You want to listen to the leaves blowing, you want to listen to just everything that Mother Nature has to offer. It's really nice and really soothing to the soul to just go out and enjoy the natural sounds of the world, instead of listening to highways and cars passing by and people honking, people screaming, everything that the daily life usually brings. And I wanted to bring that down a little bit with the Garden of Selene. First of all, this is an amazing game. The music is always amazing in the Wise games. And when it came to this song specifically, I didn't know exactly which songs to pick for this one, this thematic of the second stops. But yeah, going to an amazing place, and maybe a place that you didn't expect it to be as amazing or magical as it is, as as you're getting this experience. I think many of you might have gotten this experience once or twice at least in your life, and maybe you don't have high standards or something like that, then maybe you find more of these places than others do that have higher standards, for example. I myself doesn't have that much of a standard at all, so I'm getting just amazed and inspired by most of the places I head into and visit. So that's why I kind of like moving around and having a good time when I travel. And usually when I'm traveling, or especially when I'm out in the wild or nature, because there's not that much wild going on here in Sweden. But I really like and enjoy to just watch how nature have grown, for example, how trees are placed, what is happening over there, this and that, and you can see all these paths. Sometimes you can notice where people are moving around, because there's usually a path of some sort when people are moving back and forth at the same spot. And yeah, traveling another path where they don't have like super high grass or something like that, so you don't get all these insects and stuff that you don't want. But just going off that path and enjoying something that nobody else is usually enjoying is something that I do like. I like to be outside of the box from time to time, because I'm getting a little bit panic when I'm inside the same box all the time. That's why I might be able to be some sort of unexpected by itself, I think. I'm not entirely sure what people think about me in those kind of areas, but yeah, unexpected places to end up in, and the second stops we might do, the second stop of our journey, the second stop to visit a person, or just arriving at the second spot, not knowing what to expect at all. So that is the sum of the second stop that we had for this week's episode. And I hope you like the songs and tracks that I picked for this week. If you have any other tracks that you would suggest that you like and that fits for a second top of some kind, maybe you can add it with a memory of yours together. Please do comment on the episodes. First of all, it helps a lot just when you're commenting and following us on Facebook or Instagram. It helps others to find the podcast as well. Even if you suggested it would just be amazing. I know there's a couple of you guys that have been sharing the post, and I just love when you do. Thank you so much for doing that. But yeah, other episodes of Finally Game Music, you can find them on our homepage at videospelsklubben.se. You also can find us on Spotify or in your closest podcast app. If there's a podcast app you're using and you don't find this podcast, please let me know so I can try and get it up on that platform. And feel free to follow and give comments on one of our social medias, either on Facebook or on Instagram. Just search for Finally Game Music and you will find us there. Just give a follow and more people will be able to find the podcast easier. If you would like to hear your name in a future episode, then feel free to request a song for an upcoming episode by commenting on any of our social pages or through Discord. For these upcoming, for summer hiking at least, we're not going to take any requests as I've already pre-recorded all these episodes. But on another note, you can also support this podcast and for future content and quality upgrade and so on, getting like 2 mics, for example, when I have guests and I want to travel around to talk to composers and also travel around to events and talk to composers at those events, because since I'm in the game development, I get to meet a couple or a lot of composers as well. So it would help immensely if I could get funds for that as well. And when I don't need any more funds, then all the funds will go to future composers. So please think about becoming a Patreon to the podcast. And our current awesome backers that we do have today. We have Mikael Sjöberg, Andreas Nilsson, and Daniel Onemark. Thank you so much for being part of this podcast and supporting it. So links where you can either buy or support the composers behind the music that we'll listen to today, you will find those in the main post on videospelsklubben.se. And the third episode of this summer thematic of summer hike is going to be an unexpected meeting. And what that will be, when it comes to unexpected meetings, we will take on next time. So with that said, we're packing this up. Thank you so much for being part. Thank you so much for listening. And thank you so freaking much for sharing the content that I do. And with that said, take care everybody, and see you all guys next time!